Today we're going to talk about Christmas and gifts. Now, a lot of us feel a lot of weight on our shoulders and guilt because we're giving either too much or not enough to our children. There's such a balance, and on top of that, everybody's giving opinions about what you should and shouldn't do with your child to spoil them. I want you to take all that guilt off your shoulders and that weight, and I want you to squash it and throw it away. We do not have time for that. I want to tell you something. It doesn't matter. One day out of the year for the rest of their life is not going to diminish their character. It is not going to spoil them for one day of tons of gifts. What matters is the rest of the 364 days. What are you doing to teach your children the strong core values of a giving heart? If you're sitting here giving your child gifts because you feel guilty for the time you're not spending with them, is this something you're doing every day? Is this mindset something that you do all year round? Or maybe you're giving gifts because you feel bad your child doesn't have any friends, or because we're in the middle of a pandemic and they aren't in school. Is this a mindset we've had for a year or for a few months? That's what I want you to focus on. If you're saying yes, I want you to think of how you can switch and adjust it the rest of the days. But on Christmas Day, it doesn't matter. I have a story for you that Mike and I started when we first got married. It's called the Christmas orange. So every year we put oranges in our stockings as a reminder about Christmas and what we're trying to instill in our children. So here's the story for you of the Christmas orange. Jake was 9 years old, and for as long as he could remember, he lived within the walls of an orphanage. He was one of 10 who were supported by donations from the townspeople. Throughout the year, there was very little to eat, but around Christmas there seemed to be more than usual. The orphanage seemed a bit warmer, and most importantly, they were getting a Christmas orange. Christmas was the only time of year that such a rare treat was provided, and it was treasured by every child. They enjoyed it, and they savored each juicy section of it. They waited all year long for this. On Christmas Eve, Jake somehow managed to track a small amount of mud into the house on his shoes, and he didn't notice. But it was too late, and there was nothing he could do to avoid punishment. The Christmas orange was taken away. After a year of waiting, he would be denied the one thing he wanted. Tearfully, Jake pleaded for forgiveness, but there was no avail. On Christmas Day, he was feeling empty and alone. He felt that the other children didn't want to be with a boy who had such a cruel punishment. Maybe, he reasoned, the gulf between him and his friends existed because they feared he would ask for oranges. Jake spent the day upstairs alone in his unheated dorm. Huddled under his blanket, he read about a family marooned on an island. Jake wouldn't mind spending the rest of his life on an isolated island with a family who truly cared of him. Bedtime came, but he couldn't sleep. How could he say his prayers? How could there be a God in heaven that would allow a little soul such as he to suffer all by himself? Silently he cried and prayed. That God might end the suffering of the world, but for him and all others, he just asked for the future of mankind to be restored. As Jake climbed back into bed, in the cold, hard floor, a soft hand touched his shoulder, and it scared him. Looking closely at an object that was left in his hands, in the dim light he saw what looked like an orange. Not a regular orange, smooth and shiny, but a very special one. Inside a patched-together peel was segments of 9 other oranges. Together they made one whole orange for Jake. The 9 other children in the orphanage had each donated one segment of their own precious orange to make a whole orange for Jake. I want you to think about this and really strive. Are your children being raised to be these other 9 orphans who give parts of their orange to somebody in need? That's what I want you to focus on this Christmas season. Not about how many gifts or how little you give. It doesn't matter.